Hot crowd,
Nice.
Marc.
Yeah, he just said they did. We couldn't draw like Steve and.
I know. We can play the 5,000
This
seater.
is our limit here. Yeah.
I like it. It's more intimate.
Yeah, I do too. It's going to be. Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice. So I put some Post-its in the book.
Yep.
Right here. That's about as far as I got.
Yeah.
And
it's too long. Everything I do is too long.
That's what I was going to say that. I'm like, it's just like your movies. You could have been like 30 pages less.
Yeah. I just can't. It isn't. Here's the thing. I just realized I'm mentally ill. I realized two things recently. I'm mentally ill and I have brain damage. And
like specifically?
Yeah, specifically. Like I went and I got a brain scan with that guy, Dr. Amen. You ever see that guy online? Dr. Amen, and a brain scan.
Got an online doctor?
Well,
for a brain. Did you do the whole body scan?
No, I did the full brain scan, wires on your head. And
yeah.
Afterwards, he shows me like the scan, and he's like, "See that right there?" He's like, "You ever been in a really bad car accident?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's brain damage."
That's your gift. That's what did it. You thank the brain. But the book is good. It's like a celebration of Judd Apatow by Judd Apatow.
Yes. That's right. Yeah. I thought about that the whole time. I did. I was like, this looks like such a sucking your own dick kind of project.
In a picture, sucking your own dick in pictures.
Yeah. There's even a picture of me there, like kind of naked in college with like a little tennis racket covering me. And you could see like the bottom ridge of my balls in this photograph. And I said, can you guys just wipe that out a little bit using modern technology?
Did they?
And then they didn't. And then it was like in like Us Weekly or something. like my testicle is there. But I did think the whole time we were making it, I talk about all the projects that bombed, all the cancellations. I tried to have the good and the bad.
One thing I noticed, it's a big book, and there's a lot of people in it.
Yes. You're in it.
Where am I in it?
There's a picture of you in it.
There's a picture of me in it?
Yeah.
There's like 3 pages on a PA from fucking 40-year-old virgin. But you couldn't write a little thing about Marc. This is a guy I met at a hot dog place when we were shooting this movie. 4 pages for that guy.
Well, it's like when you asked me to act on your TV show, Maron, and I had to tell you, I don't know how to act. It was so nice of you. You're like, will you play this part?
Yeah.
And I just said, I'm the worst actor. Like, there's a reason why you don't see me do it. And I read the scene. I'm like, this would require knowing how to do this.
I texted Judd, after I took a look at the book, and I think we should share it because, texts can be funny.
Yeah.
I said, reading the book, it's all very entertaining. It all just reaffirms that I never really had a career in show business. I just aggressively inserted myself into it and was allowed to try things sometimes.
Sure. What did I say back?
You said, we will need to vigorously debate this show.
That's right.
Well, we can make it about me. That's fine.
Yeah, no, I'd like to make it about you. I mean, I said to Marc at the end of the podcast that we did together the other day that, I love long-form interviews. I did interviews as a kid, and I said the biggest salute, the biggest compliment I can give to you is that your show is so great that I have never done a podcast. Like the one guy you think would be the podcast guy. And I'm like, Marc has us covered and is doing it so much better.
Well, there's that headline I talked to you about before in the Beaverton, which is like the Onion. The headline was, Marc Maron pioneers not having a podcast.
Yeah.
I did, actually. I kind of did.
But I feel like doing a show like you did, right?
Yeah.
Like conversation, that gets very deep and honest, and where people are working things out and sharing parts of themselves that you don't normally hear about, is as interesting and creative and important as some movie I make about a guy with a boner.
Yeah, but that makes generally is much more popular. Makes a lot more money.
Yeah.
And you can, you don't have to reveal yourself at all.
Well, I guess maybe I did and you didn't notice.
Well, I can certainly. Well, I mean, like with This Is 40, I mean, that's all you, right?
Well, I mean, it's a combo of like friends and Rudd and me, and it becomes like a soup.
Yeah.
So like the way Leslie reacts to Paul
Right.
is different than how she reacts to me.
In a better way, or?
Well, like in life, like if say we're having an argument,
Yeah.
I can't like make a joke.
No?
You know what I mean? Like if I have the best joke ever, it doesn't end the argument. You know, so in the movie, Rudd will try to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they'll be funny because they get mad at each other. But in life, I just won't do it.
Well, when did that wear off? It must have worked at the beginning.
No, it never did. It never did. It wasn't it. But I do miss the show already.
My show?
Yeah, but when I did an episode where I picked my favorite moments and played them to Marc, who had never listened to his own show, and I was like going through it and making a list of the good ones that maybe there was a clip from.
Yeah.
And there were hundreds that I thought were so great. The Bruce Springsteen one was
Bruce
especially amazing.
Yeah.
And you're in that movie.
Yeah, I was in that movie. Well, we'll talk about me a little bit. So the turns out that the what was it called again? The movie, The Road to, what is it called? Huh? Road to Nowhere, is that what it's called? Yeah. So
You're in the movie, Marc.
I'm in the movie for a very powerful 2 lines. You want me to do them for you?
Yeah.
So
What are they though, really?
I think they were like, look, Bruce, it was recorded on unprofessional recording equipment. And I held it.
Yeah.
Like this. Feel it?
Yeah.
And then
What did Bruce say back?
I said that. That was my line.
He says nothing.
He goes, just fix it, Chuck. And something like that. And I was
And Bruce was on the set when you were recording.
that was the funniest thing. Fuck it. So this guy Chuck Plotnick is a real guy.
Yeah.
But he was his engineer for years. But I couldn't. He's not well. He's old. And I couldn't talk to him.
Yeah.
But I wanted to honor him. Or do a good job with it. And I told Scott Cooper, the director, I said, what do you want me to do? I can't talk to Plotnick. There's no video on him.
Yeah.
He goes, don't worry about it. Just do it like you would do it. And the first take, because John Landau and Bruce Springsteen are in Video Village, and we're in the studio, and they're out there all the time, Bruce and John. So the first take where I talk, I'm nervous. And Cooper goes, cut, and I walk into Video Village, and Bruce goes, you got it! You're Chuck! And I'm like, well, that's a fucking coincidence. Glad I nailed that. Oh, but anyways, what I was going to say is that Warren Zanes, the guy who wrote the book, was on my show, and it turns out that the producer of the movie had heard him on my show and got the idea to make it into a film, so it all started with me.
Can I tell you my Bruce Springsteen story?
Please.
I wound up at a dinner sitting next to him. And then you're like, you got to have a little Bruce game, right? You have to be able to ask him questions.
Yeah.
And so I said, how come you were never on TV in the 70s? Because Bruce was never on anything. He wasn't on like the Midnight Special or Don Kirshner's rock concert. So you never saw him perform until like the 80s.
Yeah.
But there was like 10 years where he was almost just like a myth that you would hear about.
Yeah.
And I said, how come you were never on TV? He's like, we didn't think it was cool. And I said, but your first 2 records didn't sell well. Didn't you get pressure from the record company? Like, why wouldn't you just do that? He goes, there's a lot of ways to make it when you got the goods. Yes, I just did turn him into Louis Armstrong.
But let's talk about our common interest, which is comedy, because in reading the book, and certainly the beginning, I definitely...
Well, that's all you read.
No. I went through the whole book. I read a lot of it because it is a memoir in a sort of coffee table version.
Yeah.
I think it's the closest you've gotten to really writing about yourself as thoroughly as you did here.
Yeah.
And some of it's kind of touching in the sense that, well, a couple of things. Like, I too was the guy who wrote letters to celebrities to get signed pictures.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where that comes from. But just getting them to feel that connection was like such a big deal. And,
it's like the Wizard of Oz, like looking behind the curtain.
Yeah. But I didn't get into it as deep as you did. I think I had Buddy Hackett, so I was pretty happy about Buddy Hackett.
I had Shirley Hempel from What's Happening.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I got Mae West before she died.
Oh, that's a good one.
That was pretty good. Robert Blake I got before whatever happened to him happened.
Yeah. Marc, he just left his gun by accident in a restaurant, and his wife happened to get killed.
Did he die?
And it was a coincidence that on the same night he left his gun in a restaurant.
Is he dead?
He died, right?
Robert Blake died?
Yeah, you got that right, Jack.
Because
Isn't that what you used to say?
there's a funny story. I don't even know if I should do it, but a buddy of mine used to go to AA out in the valley, and Robert Blake would always be at AA, and he did this impression of him. He'd say, "My name's Robert. I'm an alcoholic. I didn't kill her." All right.
That's the 8th step. That's the 8th step. Denying your murders.
But do you remember before you started because you did a very early podcast when you were in high school. You interviewed all these comics that came through town.
Yes.
But do you remember who the first comic you met was?
The first comic I met was Toady Fields. Toady Fields was friends with my grandmother. And so we would go see Toady Fields when I was little, and she was so funny. You ever see Toady Fields when she was on the Mike Douglas show with Kiss? And so she's on with Kiss, and then she's like, and it was kind of a funny one because Gene Simmons didn't really know how to talk in his character.
Right.
So he was always like just doing this, and like he hadn't thought through like, oh, I have to talk like this.
Yeah.
It was really embarrassing, and she's like, yeah, wouldn't it be funny if we realized that beneath that you were just a nice Jewish boy? And then he says something like, like kind of like saying, yeah, if you only knew.
Yeah.
And then she goes, yeah, I could tell by the hook.
Whoa. That is some Jew-on-Jew action there. Turns out he's kind of a shitty Jewish boy underneath it all. It's so funny because he's totally relaxed into this cranky, fucking angry, outspoken, good for him. So,
you know what we could say? Everything worked out for Gene Simmons.
it did, thank God, right? Yeah.
Wall to wall.
First comic I ever met was Jimmy Durante.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was because my grandmother used to love comedy. That's why I got into it. I remember reading, you remember in the Parade magazine, my favorite jokes at the end, where it was just a page of their jokes? I thought that was the most amazing thing. But we were in Vegas when I was a kid. We went and met my grandparents there. And somehow or another, she decided that I had to meet Jimmy Durante because he was in the hotel. And she somehow got his room number. So my mother, Jimmy Durante, cha-cha-cha-cha, like... And I must have been like 10, and we go to this room, to this door, and we knock on the door, and the most frightening looking old man opens the door, and he goes, "Hi!" And I'm scared, I almost cried, and my grandmother's like, "This is Jimmy Durante, this is my grandson, Mark." Hey, cha-cha-cha-cha. He's like, "Get me the fuck out of here." Like the guy was...
It's like when I went to the Hollywood Squares when I was like 10 years old, and my grandma knew Peter Marshall, the host.
Oh,
my
wow.
grandfather like produced an album that he did at some point, and then she brought over Charo. And she stood me up, and he's like, "I want to show you how to do the coochie, coochie, coochie."
Of course she did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all she did.
I know. But that show business was the most fun show business, that like weird 1970s. It was still like the previous generation of variety with a little overlap of cool people.
Yeah. It's so weird that that was what amazed me about the arc of your career, is that it was almost like the filmmakers in the 70s, right? That, old Hollywood had sort of crapped out in terms of how to sell a movie, and all those young guns came in, like Spielberg and Lucas and De Palma and all those cats, Scorsese. But it seemed like when something happened in comedy for you, it might be like probably the Ben Stiller show that kind of started it.
Yeah.
That gave you this arc of finding a community of creatives and talent that was able to reinvigorate film comedy for like a decade, right?
Yeah.
So do you feel that? Do you know that?
I mean, I guess in a sense, I just always looked at it like from the point of view of a fan. So, I met Ben Stiller. I had seen he had a sketch show on MTV, which was really funny and groundbreaking, with a lot of film pieces, and he did impressions of Bono. Like, no one did Bono. Like, I mean, that was like, SNL wasn't doing like things like that.
Well, he's like the greatest physical comedian.
Yeah.
He's like one of the best, and I always say that to people because he still can do it.
Oh, yeah.
But at some point, funny people choose to, not be funny anymore, and no, because they have serious things to say.
They want to talk about how hard it is to record Springsteen.
Yeah. But anytime he's on the Oscars, when he presents, it's like the funniest thing. But where was I going with that? It's just that it just seemed like somehow or another, when you were coming up, when you were young, that all the guys that you knew were really this top-notch talent. And did you know that at the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a weird part about it because I was such a freak and would, interviewed like 50 comedians as a kid, and I was so obsessed. And then I came out, and it must have been a fertile time for people. So, when I met Ben, like as a young person in my early 20s, I was like a fan. That's how I'd meet Ben.
Because he's from the MTV show.
Yeah, but more just because even though we're the same age, like in my head, I'm like, he's one of the guys.
Yeah, right.
Like before it happened, like in my head, I'm like, this is like meeting Bill Murray, or this is like meeting Dan Aykroyd. And then I would just get a chance to work with them. And then we had to hire a cast for the Ben Stiller show. And we were so young that we didn't know what casting was. So we didn't read anybody. We just went, who should we put on the show? What about Ginny Garofalo? She seems funny. Okay, that's the girl. Who's funny? That's the guys. Andy Dick and Bob Odenkirk do that show together. That's pretty funny. We're done. We literally met no one. We didn't even make a list of who was available. Like Jack Black was young in town. Will Ferrell was in town. Like we didn't even consider it. We were just like, just from our gut.
But all
funny.
But all those guys were just starting out then, right?
Yeah.
Like Will and everybody.
Everyone was kind of floating, but we were just so naive, but we're working from just our instincts of what was making us laugh at the moment. And then, at that time I was living with Adam Sandler. And Adam was on remote control. He would be on...
with Colin and Dennis and all those guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he would be on The Cosby Show. He played one of Theo's friends. And he was the guy like, oh, Bud Friedman likes Sandler.
Yeah.
And we would hang out with him, and he was so funny, but he was unemployed. And so he would try to make us laugh because he had so much energy.
Yeah.
And he had no job. So if you could imagine that he would work so hard to amuse you, because what else is he going to do, right?
Yeah.
And I always think about it, like he's just so much less funny personally now.
Yeah.
Because he's tired from having a job. But when he was just bored in the apartment, like the funniest guy who's giving you 100%.
Yeah. Right when you wake up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always tell the story, but it makes me laugh. Like all the time, his gag with me, he would just always go like, "What's your hog look like? I want to see your dick. What's your dick look like?"
Yeah.
And all the time, like, just let me see it. I want to know what I'm dealing with.
What I'm dealing with.
And then one day I was like peeing in the bathroom, and then he just like walks in behind me and he just looks at me in the mirror and he goes, "All right." But yeah, and then Jim Carrey was doing stand-up at the Improv.
Yeah.
David Spade and Rob Schneider, and it was just a lot of people floating. And then there was the generation above us, like Seinfeld and Ellen and Shandling, and Robin Williams was coming in.
Yeah.
And so it was just a crazy, electric time in comedy.
And then there was the generation before them were still around.
Yeah, there was Belzer would come in, Charles Fleischer, and those people.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Even like Jackie Vernon was still floating around.
That was my first comedy show.
Yeah.
That's what ruined me.
Really?
Yeah. When I was a little kid, probably 12, I loved Jackie Vernon. I'd see him on the show with the slideshow with the clicker. This is the greatest device in the world. Yeah. And he came to Albuquerque, where I grew up. He was playing the lounge at the Hilton Inn. Yeah. And I made sure, I just begged my parents to take me. And they took me, and it was a lounge. And it was, just very grown up. And I was sitting right up front, and I'm a kid, which as a comic, when you see that, you're like, oh, fuck. Is it? Fucking kid right up front. Does the parents know what I do? And they're all, when I go on stage, I see a kid, I'm like, you know me, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, this is okay? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, you're not good parents. So.
I had that with Rickles.
Oh, really?
As a kid, being in the front row at Westbury Music Fair with Rickles.
Did he point you out?
The same kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Like, why are you here? You're a neglected child.
But Jackie just did his act, but what I remember about it is that, he's old at that time.
Yeah.
And, and it's like to be that close to an old road act that's just like pockmarked and sweaty and probably doesn't want to be there. He's only there because it's an easy flight from LA, and he figured, what the fuck? And I'm looking at that guy and I'm thinking, like, this is what I want.
And he was probably like 10 years younger than we are right now. But didn't take care of himself and looked 80. Do you remember, I remember when I went to the Laugh Factory in like 1985 and Jackie Vernon was there. You know, and he was like kind of a, you know, like a stocky Jewish guy.
Yeah.
And I kind of remembered the jokes because he'd be like, you know, this is my family vacation.
Yeah.
That's us driving down the road. That's us seeing a hitchhiker. That's us picking up the hitchhiker. That's us hitchhiking.
Oh my God. There's sustained laughter.
It's still a good joke. It's like red buttons, you know?
It's a great
Never had a dinner.
But when you came out, did anyone remember you from high school? Like the old guys you interviewed?
When I came out, the only one that really remembered me interviewing them was this writer from Saturday Night Live, one of the legends, Alan Zweibel.
Oh yeah, Zweibel, yeah.
And
sure.
so he was the nicest guy because I went and interviewed him. He used to write a lot of the Gilda Radner material, like Rosanna Dana. And he took out his phone book and he gave me everybody's home phone number.
Really? And did you call?
I did. I called everyone.
To get interviews.
To get interviews, and so I interviewed all the original writers from Saturday Night Live.
Did you say like Zweibel gave me your number?
Yeah. And Tom Davis and Al Franken, and I interviewed everybody. Guido Sarducci.
Oh yeah.
You know you're a nerd as a kid when you're so excited to go meet Guido Sarducci.
Yeah.
Who's the greatest guy. He was on Colbert this year. He was hysterical.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Like literally insanely funny doing Guido Sarducci.
One of the things I did underline.
On page 8.
Yeah.
Did you see this thing right here?
Yeah.
My grandma got me Ringo Starr's autograph.
Oh.
No, my brother Ringo Starr's autograph. But then she got a piece of fabric that was the same fabric as this really garish, ugly wallpaper that was in my brother's room, and she glued the Ringo Starr autograph on it and framed it so it would match the wallpaper. Can you read that? This is my letter to Mike Douglas when I was 10.
Dear Mike, my name is Judd Apatow, and I am 10 years old. I always watch the Mike Douglas show. It's great. I learn a lot from it. You have the best guests. I'm glad your show moved to Hollywood. Now you get better guests. Yours truly, Judd Apatow. Did you get an autographed picture from that one?
I just literally found that, like, I wrote so many letters, I just found it like in an old armoire.
Oh, so that didn't make it out?
That didn't make it out. There was one right on top of it, which was almost the same letter to Merv Griffin.
But this is what I underlined in terms of you know, why certain kids, like, because it's sort of specific to be that obsessed with comics, you know, and with funny people. And I think that, you know, you probably, you know, retrofitted this in the sense, because you're reflecting, but you said that in life, maybe it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
That was really what it was about.
Yeah, when I saw Tony Fields, you know, she had one leg because she had diabetes.
Yeah.
And she had to have her leg amputated.
Yeah.
And how she died was she went to get a facelift. And her doctor said, don't get an operation because you have diabetes and you might not survive the operation. Yeah. And so she got a new doctor and then
died.
I guess that's not really a punchline.
I think that's the opposite of a punchline.
Yeah. But she was the nicest lady, and my grandparents just adored her. They just talked about her like she was the most special person in the world.
But seeing her perform with no leg is what made you think, like, well, you can find your place.
Yeah, because she was at the Westbury Music Fair and just tore the house down. She was so funny, and she talked about having one leg and got standing ovations. And I think just somewhere in my head, I'm like, oh, you can be the cool person. And I think Woody Allen did that too.
Yeah.
You know, when you're like a little kid, Mel Brooks, I just finished a documentary about Mel Brooks, just like all these like strange people made you think like, wait, there's a way to be cool when you're weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I hope we can get back to that. It's something that's missing.
And that's kind of what like Freaks and Geeks was about, and Heavyweights and a lot of the things that we did, you know. There was like, I remember when we were promoting Knocked Up, the whole campaign was a picture of Seth's
Promoting
face.
What?
Knocked Up.
Oh, yeah.
And Seth Rogen's face is on the poster.
Yeah.
And then the tagline was like, what would you do if he got you pregnant? and Seth would go, that's like really insulting. He's like, because it's just my face. It's like, it's not some broad thing. It's what my face looks like. He's like, and he goes, I kind of think everyone in the world looks like me. Like, no one looks like Brad Pitt. People look like me. Why is my face marketing?
You got over it, though?
It worked out for him. He has 27 Emmys right now.
How many?
I know didn't they win? Like,
yeah, I think they won a few Emmys, yeah. Well, in terms of like being different, like, because I talk about that a lot in the climate of comedy that we're living in, where it's sort of been hijacked by the worst kind of meatheads. And they all kind of look the same, and their sensibility is the same. Yeah. And a lot of my speaking out recently has been in the name of weirdness. Yeah. That, some of the most beautifully funny and talented people are very fragile, and they're interesting, and it's always been that way. And this shift is really upsetting to me. Well, and we need to stop it.
Well, we became we became comedians to avoid bullies. So when there's kind of like bullying type of energy in comedy, it's weird. It's a weird, like the aggression of it. I mean, there's people who are just so funny. I mean, and like some of the people that you disagree with are funny. You're like, I disagree with everything, but that person is making me laugh. And then there's other people that like it really troubles you what they're saying, mainly because people pay attention to it as if it's real information.
Yeah, I think I think Joe has single-handedly ruined comedy because everybody's taking everything so fucking seriously. Yeah. They can't take a joke for shit, those guys.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think the Saudi Arabia thing was good.
The what, my joke?
Just all of it, everything you were saying, and just that it
I did one joke and it started a fire. I'm happy about it. But the joke was solid. Yeah. It was a solid fucking joke. And then all the commentary happened after that. Yeah. But I pride myself on like, hey, just a joke, Yeah.
But I think it pointed out that like comedians are just knuckleheads.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't listen to comedians. Like if that's where you're
no worldview, really.
Well, you shouldn't get your real information from a comedian.
Yeah.
And I think people forgot that for a moment. Like, wait a second, they're interviewing all these important people, and maybe their opinions, I should listen to them, and I will align all of my thoughts behind them. And then we saw like, oh, they're all just kind of road dogs and saying things that make you laugh and to provoke you. And there's very few of them that like stick to a full code of their real opinions that they want to get across.
Some of their opinions are just reactive. They're not really thought out. But
or they're there just to get the joke. Like a comedian, if like their real opinion isn't funny, they might adjust it to get a laugh.
Right.
Yeah.
But like back in the day, even in like the generation before, the guys that were before us, I mean, there were full-on weirdos that required a specific type of attention. Yeah. That there was a nuance to what they were doing. Yeah. And I think that, in some of the documentaries, like even Shandling as a stand-up, it was a very nuanced act. You can't just go in like he did clubs, but like right now, if somebody younger had that sort of deliberate timing and the waiting, it wouldn't hold up. Yeah. But he was one of the best.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like everything else. Like things just speed up and get more energy. I mean, there are the slower people.
It's your fucking phone. Do you ever look at your daily screen time? Have you ever looked at your daily screen time? It's upsetting. Because it's like 8 or 9 hours. And when you wake up in the morning, you don't say to yourself, I got a couple of errands, I got to call that guy, then I got to allot 9 hours to look at my hand. And everything that comes out of it is this the whole frequency of it is manic. Yeah. Even when it's vulnerable influencers being manic,
Well, it also feels like everything's important and we're supposed to talk about all these pressing important things. So it's harder to be like a young Jerry Seinfeld in a world
with that pace
that's on fire.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Like the boats, I always think about like these boats, like Trump keeps blowing up these boats.
Yeah.
The drug dealer boats, and it's like, it's so crazy. Like, and no one's mad about it. It's like, he's just decided, I think I'm allowed to murder all these people. I will not check who they are, but I'm allowed to murder anyone I think is a drug dealer, which, like, if we won't fight for our drug dealers, who will we fight for? You know what I mean? After all the joy they've brought us, we're not going to fight for them?
All the happiness they bring to America.
Just the mushrooms alone.
Yeah. I think those are homegrown. I think that the mushrooms we do here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do feel like a responsibility to talk about things which kind of sucks because that's not really
Oh my
what most.
God.
I mean, it was always great that there was George Carlin, there was some political people, but most people were just talking about silly things.
Yeah.
And so we have too many people.
Well, no,
jumping
it's
in.
like it's hard to do. Like on my last special, I did. The first 15 minutes were very. It took a long time to sort of, find the zone to talk about it. But the problem is, if you talk about it in a broad way, whatever we're going through is probably going to be around for a little while.
Yeah.
So there's part of me that thinks like, when I do shows now, I'm like, look, I'm not going to do the politics because I already did it. And it's on the special, and nothing has changed since then. So now I'm going to talk about my cats. I just because if you keep talking about it, which is fine, but there's a redundancy to it, and it can lack nuance because you have to deliver it fairly righteously.
Yeah.
And then kind of
Which
get
is
back
inherently
to it.
unfunny.
Well, yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah, because then you're just bloviating. I mean, I think you do it better than anybody, honestly.
Thank
I think
you, the
your political
bloviating.
comedy is really, there's very few people I think do it where they mean it.
Yeah.
And so I'm always impressed with and you have for your last few specials, that you can figure out how to talk about these larger issues in a way that's really funny, but the ideas are important and insightful.
Thank you.
It's definitely very hard to do, and it makes you a crank in a way. Like I notice I'll be on stage talking about it, and sometimes I'm getting big laughs. I'm like, oh, but I'm also in an angry
That's
stance.
right, you feel it. And then you're sort of in my mind, I'm like, can we get back to soft me?
Yeah.
It does exist.
Yeah.
Well, you remember Barry Crimmins, you write about him. You
Yes.
produced a doc on him, right?
No, I didn't produce a doc on him, but Bob Goldthwait made an amazing doc about
Right,
Barry Crimmins.
but Barry, who was a Boston comic, a lot of people don't know him, and he was straight up political comic.
Yeah.
And he was an angry guy in a lot of ways, but he was very clever with his jokes. And I used to see him in Boston when I was coming up, and at some point he'd be doing his jokes at this club, Stitches, and it happened he had like Monday nights there. He would host a show. And at some point, he would be doing his jokes to limited response, and he would just break down and he'd go, okay, there are 3 branches of government. Basic civics.
He always had that joke. He's like, people sometimes say to me, if you don't like America, get out. And why don't you just leave? He's like, and I would leave, but I don't want to be a victim of their foreign policy.
Yeah, smart shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you did the doc on Carlin, did you see, because there was the first turn where, he decided to be, not just a song and dance man and be the Carlin we knew. But then there was another turn where he was like, fuck it all.
Yeah, he had a new philosophy, which is humans are a disaster. There's no fixing anything, and I'm going to enjoy it burning. And that was like his comedic stance. And I always felt that underneath that comedic stance was, now I can go so harsh, maybe you'll wake up.
Right.
But it was so harsh, and at the time people thought
What's
this
going on
is
with
too dark. And now you look at everything he said, and it's all just correct.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a great bit that was called The American Dream.
Right.
And that's the one where he was talking about, America's a big club and you're not in it. And,
Right.
And he said, you don't have any freedoms. You just have the freedoms they want you to think you have.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we've noticed with the government is that, they can take away gay marriage. They can take away women controlling their bodies.
But they can't take away our phone.
Yeah. Because it's tracking us, right?
Yeah, well, not just tracking us. It's just I was working on this bit about in fascism, they want you to just keep your head down. They want you to shut up. And I say, well, it's easy with a phone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know. I used to do a joke once, right? It was about just how much I love the phone because just everything's on it.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do anything else? Because you could there's porn, there's guitar tablatures. How are you supposed to not want to be on it all day long?
The joke I was doing is I just watched a large pipe unclog itself for 45 seconds, and it did not feel like wasted time.
Yeah. I know. And it's a hard thing with comedy because you just feel like we're about to get all this AI slop
Yeah.
and all this garbage. And so people like live comedy now. They like things like this because we all want to get out and away from the phone.
Yeah.
But as a filmmaker, it's weird because you just feel these machines coming, and you kind of want to be like vinyl, like, all right, I'll be the last guy shooting on film with human beings.
Right.
But like it's like behind you is like, you know, like it's like anime.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And it's all just weird and creepy, and then every once in a while we were saying something's really funny.
Right. Oh yeah, with the cats with the guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I always say the reason why people like aren't as like excited to go to the movies on the weekend to see a comedy is because on your phone you're looking at comedy. What is your feed? I mean, it's horror, but then it's like, you know, someone accidentally like farting and then they shit in a hot tub. And I can't compete with that.
But what's missing is story, Judd.
Exactly.
Story.
But people are like kind of frazzled and they're watching, you know, Jackass clips and a lot of it is amazing. You know, like, you know, I could watch a Chinese panda bear play in the snow for 15 minutes or a 3-year-old girl play Led Zeppelin on the drums.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I get why people like it, and that's why people like rather see like an action movie or a horror movie on the weekend, because they've been laughing all week, but they haven't seen anyone get murdered.
Right. That's a good one. You doing that one?
Not yet.
All right, two real questions that I'm curious about. Like, you did stand up. I first met you at Stacey Nelson's house. Mm-hmm. And you remember that?
In the 80s.
In the 80s, late 80s. Yeah. And
I had mullets.
Oh yeah, I was angry.
Yeah.
I was dating her for some reason. That turned out to be a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
And
I didn't quite understand your whole thing back then because I was like from like a divorced home, and like comedy was like gonna just like get me away from the pain, and so I was like very sober.
Yeah.
I was just like, I gotta get a job. No one in my family has any money. No one can take care of me.
Right.
So I'm gonna be sober. So like the guys who were like on the other side of that, like kind of wounded and partying and doing coke.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't like even understand it because I was so afraid of it. Like my grandfather produced the first Janis Joplin record. Yeah. Right. So all they talked about my whole childhood was like, Janis was the best, but she killed herself on the heroin. And so I was so afraid of drugs. She could have been the best forever, but she ruined everything. She fucked us over. You know, there was a lot of like Janis resentment. She tried to fuck your grandfather. For real. But that's why in Freaks and Geeks, Joe Flaherty goes, yeah, look what happened to Janis Joplin. She's dead. You know, but so I was like, I never went out. I never went to clubs. I wasn't like drinking. I was so scared of not getting a job.
And look what you did.
Yeah. I mean,
you had a whole career.
But that's a manic episode. Like, that is the thing. It's like, when I looked at the book and when I put it together, I thought, that's like a really stressed out person filling a hole that cannot be filled.
What, the book?
The book, the projects, just how much, because you look at it.
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
you did the fucking work. I mean, like, I look at this book on film sets and, like, you know, everything that goes into all this stuff, and I think, like, Jesus, that's too much. You know, like, I'm just not that kind of guy.
No, but I think, you know, I should have been doing coke.
No, I stopped doing coke shortly after, well, maybe not shortly after. 99.
Yeah, this is like workaholism. It was my coke.
No, I get it. But like, I remember like meeting you, and you were. I think you were writing for Shandling at the time. It was probably then. Yeah. Probably like
90.
Yeah, something like that. And you know, you were this guy. You were the guy. You were the guy. And I remember meeting you. And I was just, you know, I was talking to you, and I'm like, you know, fuck LA, you know, and you said, you'll be back.
Because I loved LA because it was so far away from New York.
Yeah.
So I was like, why would you ever leave this wonderland?
I thought a beautiful moment in here, and I don't know if you realized it or if you talked to your mother about it, was, and it's oddly connected to everything, that when she got the job working at the club as a hostess at a comedy club, that Rick Messina, right? Yeah. He ran the place, and oddly went on to become a big manager who was partners with your manager currently, Messina Baker Miller. But in the book, you said that you realized that she probably took the job for you. Did she ever tell you that, or is that just because it's a beautiful way to see it?
Yeah, because my parents got divorced. My mom was a very like upper middle class woman driving around in her Mercedes, playing tennis every day, like a real Like that, it was a real lifestyle.
Is it Long Island?
Long Island. My dad would go to the city and work for my
Yeah,
grandfather's
yeah.
record company. And then they went to therapy once, and my dad said, yeah, the therapist was too hard on your mom. And so she said she would never go back.
Yeah.
And my dad was reading like Your Erogenous Zones,
Yeah, yeah.
that book, like the Wayne Dyer book, and he's like, I think I'm unhappy. And I've never heard about unhappiness, but this looks like me. And so then they had like the worst divorce, and they owned a restaurant, and Rick Messina was the bartender. So then after they get divorced, they're fighting over money because my mom tricked me into giving her my dad's credit card numbers. And she's like, yeah, I just need him to pay something. He said it's fine. And so I'm like, 338-452-90. And then she just spent like $40,000 on shoes or something, you know.
That's a fuck
Yeah.
you, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, she really like went to town, and then she moved away. And
Yeah.
so like no one's mom left when you got divorced. It was always like the dad left, and
Yeah.
then she went away, and that kind of fucked me up. And she moved to Southampton, and then she was really poor, and she started she was like waiting tables in a diner, and she hated working.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought it was fun, like to see my mom as a waitress, like
Yeah.
like Alice on the TV show, you know. And she would be so mad that she had to work. She's like, your fucking father. And I'm like, but isn't it fun? It seems like it's fun. Why don't you like it? She's like, because I'm not an animal. And so then Rick Messina.
And that's why they hate us.
Yeah. And Rick Messina has a comedy club in Southampton at the time, East End Comedy.
Yeah.
And my mom took a job there seating people. So she would come in and just like seat people for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And like, how much could you get paid back then? I mean, minimum wage back then was $3.35.
What is it now, $3.40?
Yeah. And so then I watched every comedian all summer. Paul Provenza was there,
Yeah.
Leno was there, and then like maybe like 20 years later, I was like, oh, she just did that because she knew I would like it.
Oh.
You know, and like I think it felt very like destined. Like when you think
Yeah.
about the Earth and universal intelligence, you go like, oh, there's like something like guiding it all, and it was like my mom like opened the portal to being around it.
I think that's a great way to frame it. It's really sweet. Chokes me up a little bit. I'm serious. But the other question I want to ask that, after you directed all the movies, that what does a producer do?
Well, what
Because
a
you
producer
produce so many movies.
yeah, I mean, a producer on everything does all sorts of weird things. Like I used to write jokes for people. So I wrote jokes with Jim Carrey and helped him with the Standup act. I did it with Roseanne, and then they would record a special, and then I wouldn't get like a writing credit. They would call me the co-producer.
Right.
And then I did some Tom Arnold specials and a Roseanne special, and I was the co-producer. So then people are like, Judd's a producer, but I didn't produce, I just wrote jokes. But I had all these producing credits, and I met Stiller.
Yeah.
And then he was like, hey, you're a producer.
Yeah.
He fell for it. So he came up with a sketch show, and suddenly I was the executive producer.
Whoa.
But I didn't know what that meant or what to do, and I had to run the show with Ben.
Yeah.
And then when it came to movies, I
But
wrote...
so you're the executive producer. You're running the show with Ben.
Yeah.
It's his show. But you're not running the writers' room.
Yeah, I'm in charge of the
Okay,
writing.
so the writers' room, but you're also in charge of
The whole production.
the line producer, and getting everything,
editing,
location, everything.
everything.
So you just oversaw everything.
Yeah, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Right, but
It
you
was
learned.
literally just like winging it,
Yeah.
hoping Ben doesn't notice how unqualified I am. And then we would get notes from the network, and I didn't know how to handle it because I was just like a hothead. and one of Jimmy Miller's partners ran in Living Color, and he said, don't take notes if they're not good, because they're not going to cancel you after you ruin your show with their shitty notes and then apologize for fucking up your show. So go down with your stuff.
Right.
But I really took that to heart, so I was like an asshole. I didn't know to be nice to the executives.
Yeah.
So they would be like, here's the notes, and I would go, well, I'm not doing any of them. What happens now? And what happens is you get canceled. And then when we get Freaks and Geeks, we get canceled. Undeclared, we get canceled. And I'm just a terror because the notes are bad, and I don't know what to do.
Well, I thought what you do is like you just take two of the notes and tell them that these were good, and then just don't talk about the other ones.
That's what it took me 17 years to learn that. Because it took me a while to realize, like, when you tell someone you don't like their notes, you're basically calling them an idiot.
Right.
And when you call someone an idiot, they try to destroy you. Which is the truth. They literally want to destroy you. So you have to always, you have to pick people who are funny and smart to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's not about, you do have to learn to work with people who give bad notes, but the more important thing is, can you find the people who get it? Like,
I remember Jason Segel when I talked to him, like, because he started producing
Yeah.
his stuff. And he goes, that's because Judd just said, that's what you do.
Yeah. Well, because I was so afraid of all those people from Freaks and Geeks never working again. Because a lot of them didn't go to college, like Jason and Seth and Sam Levine and Martin Starr. They all just like gave up on education when we hired them on Freaks and Geeks. And it made me nervous. Like, I just felt responsible for destroying their lives. And so, in addition to trying to find work for everybody, I told everyone, like, if you write and you direct and produce, like, then you can create your own jobs for yourself.
Right.
And that wound up, working. They believed it.
Yeah.
It says a lot of, like, just like putting a seed in someone's
Well, certainly for
head.
Seth, Jonah, and Jason.
Yeah, they really like went home and wrote. Segel just sat down and wrote "Forgetting Sarah Marshall." This is the first thing he ever wrote. And it was incredible.
Yeah.
But
Did you produce that?
Yeah. But like in that case, it's his first script, so he has an idea. Then we talk about it, like as writers, things that could happen. I go, write a outline.
Yeah.
He comes back. We go through the outline. We pitch ideas on the outline.
Yeah.
He goes back. He writes a draft. I give notes on the draft, and that process might be like a year and a half of conversations.
But
and
then
notes.
do you hire all the infrastructure?
Yeah.
That's necessary to make the movie?
Yeah. Then like Nick Stoller, who was a writer on Undeclared, said he'd like to direct. He goes, if you let me direct, I'll also try to help him with the writing.
Yeah.
And so that was his first directing. And so, sometimes it's making those choices. And sometimes as a producer, like everyone is kicking ass so much, there's less to do. And sometimes you're really digging in either with the production or the writing if like it's getting creaky.
Yeah.
And every project is different. Like for me, it's like looking for holes in the boat.
Right.
Like I'll just go to the place where there's a hole, and if everyone's like rocking, I'll just get out of the way.
Okay, and how do you deal with failure?
I'll read something to you that
Yeah.
shows you how I deal with failure. So we did Undeclared, and the person who canceled Undeclared was the same person that canceled the Ben Stiller show. So after the Ben Stiller show, they wanted me to do another show, and I said, well, I'll do it, but you have to give me a whole year. You can't cancel me. You have to give me like 22 episodes and air them.
Yeah.
And they said, we will. And then in the middle of the season, they canceled me. And I was so mad that the same guy did the same thing in the same way to me. And so there was a really good review in one of the magazines of the show, and it was like, the best show of the year is The Sopranos, and the second best show of the year is Undeclared. And so I framed it after he canceled us, and I was gonna send it to his office, right? Yeah. And then I put a note on it. And this is the note I wrote.
Sandy, I don't know if you just fucked me in the ass again, or you just never took it out in 1992. Wait, Merry Christmas. Judd. But you didn't send it?
No, so what happened is I sent it to him, and just always assumed he had it. And then like 2 years ago, one of the heads of DreamWorks, who's still there, said that day his assistant was horrified and sent it to DreamWorks. And that guy had it in his office for 20 years.
Oh my God.
And then he sent it to me, and I was like, yeah, wow, I really did send that out there. But it showed you how crazy I was. Because I really didn't understand how wrong it was to talk like that. I had a lot of Long Island rat in me. Yeah. There was a lot of kind of idiot.
It's an honest question.
Yeah.
When it comes to executives, is as a creative person, your instinct is gonna be like, who the fuck are these guys?
Yeah. Yeah. And then then sometimes they disappear and they're replaced.
Yeah.
And then other times they're there for decades, and then you can't ever work there again because you
Show up at another network.
Yeah, and so I've been very lucky to find people that get what I do. All the people at Universal Studios, I've been there since like 2004, and they just give great notes, and so I don't have these things, but it does make me laugh how many times I melted down.
But can you cite the point where you stopped doing that?
Yeah, we were shooting The 40-Year-Old Virgin. We were 2 days into the shoot. We shot the speed dating sequence and the scene where he's chasing after the bus that has the eruption ad on it. And it seemed like we were doing well, and then on the third day we were shooting, and in the middle of the day I got a call from the studio that they were shutting us down. They said, like Steve Carell looks like a serial killer. They were mad that Paul Rudd looked so overweight, which, what can I do about that? But I did tell him to gain weight because I thought he was funnier, kind of chunky. And yeah, happily. Pre-Ant-Man, Paul Rudd was very happy to get chunky for it. And when I got the notes, I normally would kind of flip out, and I just said, I'm not going to flip out. Let me just see if I can hear all the notes and then go, well, let me think about it, which is what you're supposed to do. Like, let me think about it. Yeah. And then I responded reasonably. And even though I disagreed with a lot, I made changes. Like, I made it so Catherine Keener thought Steve was a serial killer. Right. I tried to use what...
You built jokes around it.
Yeah. And then everything worked out great. But that was the test. Like, can I shut my mouth?
Yeah.
Because it's hard to be shooting a movie and there's 50 people in the crew, and in the middle of the day you have to announce to everyone, like, we're shutting down. They don't like it. It's so humiliating.
So, like, you started as a stand-up, and that was what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I did it for 7 years, but I was like a kid, so I really didn't have anything to say. And I just kind of wanted to be Bill Maher.
Yeah.
I was like, I can
Still?
Yeah. I wanted to be Bill Maher talking to Woody Allen on Club Random.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be just like a smart, funny, just Jewish guy.
Doing jokes.
Like that's all I thought about.
Yeah.
And then I moved to LA, and everyone was amazing.
Yeah.
And so, I'd be in the clubs, and there would be Bill Maher, and there would be Ellen, and then I lived with Sandler, and then I was hanging out with Jim Carrey, and slowly I just went like, I think I'm not as good as these people.
Yeah.
Because I was a fan. I could tell, like, Jim Carrey was Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
So it was like meeting, I always say it's like if you were starting a band and your best friend was Bono.
Yeah.
It was just like, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like enough of a fan to really know, like, seriously, you're not as good as them. You need to, like, do something else. And I would write for them, and my jokes would murder. And I was like, oh, this is so fun to, like, give Jim something to do or just help him.
Yeah.
And then I started getting a lot of work doing that. And I thought it was the universe saying, you should stop performing. And I listened to it. And I said, okay. And then when about 11 years ago, I started doing it again because I had something to say. And I had life experience, so it felt very different than
it's so funny because I know as a comic, and if that's what your heart wants, that it's not easy to let it go. Obviously, you did fine, but it is something that stays with you.
Oh yeah.
And I remember when you started coming down to the clubs again, to the store, and I'd known you, already. We were friends, and I was just sort of like, really, the genius of comedy movies. He's got to do stand-up again?
I would say I'm like Michael Jordan, but during his baseball days.
When I went in and watched you, I'm like, of course it's going to be great because you're a great joke writer and you hadn't done stand-up in a long time. But holy fuck, that Bill Cosby joke to me was the best fucking joke. It was just such a great take on it. And I was like, all right, this guy's got the good.
Well, I used to go to those shows that Kumail put on at the comic book store.
Yeah, that Nerd Melt.
Nerd Melt. And everyone was doing like characters and weird things, and I was still, doing my
straight
stand-up. And one night I'm like, oh, I should be experimental. And so I just tried to write out Bill Cosby's set, like what his jokes are right now. And I wrote this I wrote like 10 pages of really disturbing Bill Cosby imagery. And then it turned into, the premise was based kind of like on his old like himself type of attitude of Bill Cosby trying to hide the newspaper from Camille so she doesn't find out he's a rapist. It was like, I would go to the end of the driveway in the morning and I gotta hide the paper. And then one morning I slept late and she got the paper. And so it was a very like disturbing bit, And it was right when all the Cosby stuff was happening.
But what was the tag though? The tag was the best.
Tag was
when she confronts
she
him.
confronts me, and he says, "Do you like this house? Do you like finding a private jet? We didn't have a Coke. Shut the fuck up."
It's like, but you narrowed it down to like, Camille, do you like your life?
And I wasn't. So I got.
That's heavy, man.
I got booked on the Tonight Show to do stand-up, and I wasn't going to do that. And then I was at the Comedy Cellar the night before.
Yeah.
And they didn't ask me what I was going to say on the Tonight Show because I think it was like almost a prank to let me do stand-up. Like they didn't even ask me what the set was. I think it was just like a weird thing that I would do it,
With Jimmy.
Like if Gus Van Sant did stand-up on the show or something.
Right, yeah.
And then the night before, everyone was like, "You should do the Cosby bit." I think Jim Norton, they was like, "The Cosby bit's your best bit." Yeah. And I'm like, "You think I could say that on the Tonight Show?"
Listen to Norton.
But then I did it, and it was fun. Yeah.
It killed?
Yeah, it was great.
You want to do Q&A now, Stu?
Hi. Thank you both for your comedy. It has greatly improved my life. I'm wondering if there's anything that surprised you about the trajectory of your career when you were putting this book together and kind of got to see the whole picture up till this point.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of what surprised me. I mean, I guess it's just that like so many things failed for so long, but I was having so much fun even when everything was failing. So we did a pilot with Kevin Hart when he was like 21 years old.
With Burr?
It was with Jason Segel and Amy Poehler. Oh. That was the cast, like playing young people trying to break into show business. And Kevin was so funny. And in the pilot, Kevin has this long speech about what's going to happen in his career. And it was all about how he was going to be the next Eddie Murphy. And he's like, I want to be like, I could be in Beverly Hills Cop 5, and it's like he's Scooby-Doo and I'm Scrappy-Doo. And he laid out his whole career, and then it happened. But the show didn't get picked up, and it was like so heartbreaking because you knew like, oh, these are the people. Like it's Amy Poehler, really like fresh off of UCB, Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
But I was always like, because I was a fan of music, there's always that badge of pride when you love a band no one likes.
Yeah.
If you're like, I love Husker Du, or and so I definitely in my head tricked myself into thinking that it was kind of cool that no one got it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great rationalization.
Yeah. It got me through a lot of nights. I would always be like, no one buys Elvis Costello records, they're just buying Whitney Houston records.
Yeah. I'm the Elvis Costello of comedy.
Yeah.
Also, what must surprise you, you must have had a few points in this book where you're like, fuck, I didn't know I had this picture.
Yes, yeah. There's some really wild pictures there. There's one, it's Jim Carrey and Farley at the MTV Music Awards. And I'm just like in the deep background, just watching him, kind of like a fan, like, wow, they're talking.
Yeah.
I'm a USC film student, and my question for you guys is, Judd, if you were starting over today, I know you mentioned the AI slop and all that, what would you do and where would you go?
I think that, because I think about it for myself, because I don't know how much money you can get to make a movie, and like everything's changing so fast. So like I have to almost be like someone that's just graduating from USC. And the thing that I always think about is like when Lena Dunham made the movie Tiny Furniture, she made it for 50 grand with 8 friends, and it looked great because her friend Jody Lee Lipes, who was later the DP on Girls, he was great with a little Canon camera, and they just made this cool movie themselves. And around the same time, Danny McBride and Jody Hill made this movie called Foot Fist Way about a Taekwondo instructor. That was incredible, and that cost like 70 grand. And I think the thing you're not seeing right now is people doing that. Like, we don't have a great Swingers or Clerks where people are like, you could shoot this on your phone, and so I'm gonna make the coolest, funniest, craziest thing. So I would just make stuff and just work harder and go deeper than anybody else, because I always go like, what are they not doing? Like Stiller with his show, it was like no one's doing like film pieces that look good. So back in '92, it was a big deal to shoot comedy sketches on film, and now it would be like, how can you do Clerks? How can you do Welcome to the Dollhouse? Or something like that.
Yeah. So get on it.
Well, like your movie To Leslie.
Oh yeah.
Which is amazing.
They shot that in 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks. It's like a brilliant movie. And I think, you know what it is? I think we were talking about this, like that podcasting, because it's so natural, that a lot of people don't think they have to write.
Because of that there's a sort of shadow show business. Mm-hmm. Some podcasts are good, but a lot of the video podcasts are really just, there's just thousands of bad drive time radio.
Yeah.
But
no one's doing what Conan did.
Right. Well, I think what's happening, and I think it's the same with AI, is eventually people, because they're people, the bar is being lowered. So people will just adapt to shit. So if you make something amazing, the challenge is to get it out there and make people remember that there were amazing things. Even on television, like the stuff we grew up with, talk show wise, it wasn't just amazing because the stars were shinier. Mm-hmm. It was amazing because it represented a community of people that were, inspired people. Anyway, that's my apocalyptic vision for what's happening.
I was wondering, Judd, would you ever make, what movie do you regret not making a sequel to? Mm-hmm. And what movie would that be, and would you put Marc in the movie?
Yeah, that's a fucking good, I can't get in the book. I can't get in any
Marc
judgment.
always forgets that he was on Girls.
I was like a little part.
It was very meaningful to us, Marc.
I did good with it.
You were great with it. No,
yeah.
I thought you were
I
fantastic.
made my hair look like a comb over without doing,
I feel like it got you the To Leslie job.
Oh, totally.
So what do I wish we did a sequel to? I always thought that the second we finished Superbad, we should have started on the sequel, and I was always pitching them the idea, which I thought would be that Michael Cera is very happy at school and he's not going to school with Jonah.
Yeah.
And it's just about Jonah showing up. And Jonah crapped out in college, and he's like wants to stay best friends while Sarah has new friends at college. But they were all like, "Nah, we don't want to ruin Superbad because what if it's not good?" And I always would say to them, "But why didn't they made The Godfather 2?" And they got really scared of messing things up. Also, we worked for a long time on a sequel idea for Pineapple Express 2. And they had such a funny idea, which was that that in the sequel, the drug companies, they want to take over pot because pot's legal.
Yeah.
And so it was about what do the real drug dealers do when pot's legal. So they're going to assassinate the governor who's about to sign the thing to make pot legal. And then they thought that the great joke would be that when you see who's the head of the cartel, it's McLovin. Crossover. And we talked about it forever, and then it just didn't happen. But
I wonder now, I've been out of the drug using racket for a long time, but I mean, there was a time where you had to go to the guy's house. Yeah. Not anymore. Just go to the store. It's what happened to all those guys?
They have podcasts.
So my favorite scene in all of television is Freaks and Geeks, when Martian Star comes home from school and is eating a grilled cheese, a brownie, and drinking a glass of milk. I've always wondered, is that based on you and your childhood?
Yeah, that was like what I did every day for about 6 years. I would literally go home and watch the Mike Douglas show, and it was like a fantasy world where I got to hang out with Fred Travalena and Sly and the Family Stone. Like, I loved it so much. I would sit there in a chair like this, and I would just like tap my hands and just watch it for hours. And then I'd watch Dinah Shore, and then I'd watch Merv Griffin, and then I would watch Live at 5 with Jack Cafferty and Sue Simmons. And then I would watch all the sitcoms, and then I would watch The Tonight Show. And
then your mom would come home.
Yeah, there was no parents around. And in fact, I was watching so much TV that my parents got nervous for me and bought me a motorcycle. Because they were afraid I wasn't leaving the house, and so they bought me a dirt bike. And then I crashed and went over the handlebars. And
Is that the car accident? Is that the accident that gave you that?
That might have been the first time I got it. And then I went back in the room and watched TV again. So I would do that every day, and I would make grilled cheese, and I decided that milk, grilled cheese, and Entenmann's chocolate cake was the best combo of flavors. And I would just like eat it and kind of be deliriously happy. So in that episode, and it's all to this Who song called "I'm the One," which is all about like feeling like a loser. Every year is the same. I feel it again. I'm a loser. No chance to win. And so I made this sequence. It was maybe the second thing I'd ever directed. And Jay Kasdan, who was the head director of the show, he said, "Oh, that's the most personal thing you've ever done." and that kind of made me realize, oh, I should write personal things. That was the first time I did something personal.
One of the questions I had is, you were connected to so many good, great, like horror movies, and like in the early 2000s, there were just bangers after bangers. Now it's very rare to find something that comes out, and I feel like we're on this like extreme drought where it has to be a Marvel movie, it has to be an action movie, something like that. Like, how do we like switch it up and get back to the fact that you pay $15 a seat for something that's like raunchy or just simply funny and you're just laughing with your friends?
Yeah, it's a weird thing because what happened was when DVDs disappeared and it turned into streaming, DVDs was what paid for all those movies because everyone would buy them. And so if you made a movie that cost $30 million and it made 50, it would also make 50 on DVD. And so it was worth it to make that $30 million bet. But if you take 50 away, if it grosses 50 in the theater with marketing and stuff, you've lost money. So all the studios were like, well, let's just make horror movies because you can make them for like $5 million. And they might open in foreign countries. They'll open in Russia. And so it became like a doom loop that it was too expensive. And then I think that they used to buy a lot of scripts. Like you would think of a funny idea, like Sandler's movie Click was like a spec script that someone just wrote it. Like a remote control, like a control time. And then they would make money, like $500,000 or like $1 million for these spec scripts. And there was a market for it. And every day in the trades, you'd hear about these sales. Like The Long Kiss Goodnight sold for $5 million. And so people were chasing that money. And then after one of the writer's strikes, it was like all the studios said, we're not going to do that anymore. We don't want to do that. Just bring us a script that's done with the director and the cast that will decide if we want to do it.
And what a tremendous victory for the writers that was. Yeah.
Well, the writers would always fuck up because they'd be like, we're going on strike. Like the first strike was like the VHS tapes used to cost like $11 to manufacture. And then when it switched to DVD, it was $1. And so the writers were like, well, we should make more money because you're charging the same amount, but you just saved $10, so there's another $10. And they strike and they fight for it. And as soon as they win a little bit, no one buys DVDs anymore. And then there's a new strike, like we want to get some of this streaming money. And then as soon as they get a little piece, like it's switching to AI. But in every strike, it's like the studios figure out ways to...
Fuck them.
That would be the technical term. But I think it all turns around with like, if something's a big hit, everybody chases it. And so you just got to hope somebody, makes The Hangover or something, and, or maybe just people don't want to be around each other laughing. But But everything's kind of, I mean, they put comedy in everything. Like Barbie's a comedy, and the Paul Thomas Anderson movie has a lot of comedy in it. So it's also, it's like, it's become part of all the genres.
Yeah, but the big, broad comedies.
Yeah.
Yeah, where like for me, I don't know if I love them all as movies. Like I watch Old School, you know, but just to see Will Ferrell, in a funny movie is like the best thing in the world.
Mr. Apatow, have you ever thought about Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin? Their premises are like great horror movie premises.
That it's like Steve Carell just murdered everybody at some point? You know, he's the original incel, is what I'm told.
You get a lot of inspiration from members of your family. What about Honey Apatow?
Honey Apatow, my cat?
Yes.
I have 5 cats. Mark, he likes to, get these rescue cats. I like to rescue cats from people in Portland who charge me $1,800 per cat. I'm saving them from breeders.
You could we could go out in the street and I'll find you a cat in a half hour.
Not like Honey, not like Honey. Like every time you talk about your cats, I could just have this like thought of like these feral cats attacking you in your house, and then my cats is just sitting there with me. But that's when I pay the money, if you're gonna be cheap with your cat. No, but they're hyperallergenic is why we get about that. But we do have that connection of liking cats. Do you have any cats that like want to hang out with you?
They all hang out. There's just a problem between 2 of them right now that I can't solve.
Yeah.
And so now a lot of my life is rotating cats because one has to spend time in the house, and then I have to lock him up in a bedroom and bring the other one out, and they can't meet because it's a fucking nightmare. And then there's one in the middle that's sort of like dum-de-dum, Yeah, but they'll all hang out with me.
They'll sit on you?
Yeah. Well, Buster won't, but he's a little. He's emotionally difficult, but I think. But I get him. But Charlie will hang out, and Sam will sit on me when he decides to. But you can't just pick my cats up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, I get it.
There's no like, dude, look who's. It's like, oh, God.
Every way you describe it, because I mean it is hard with cats. Like we have one cat that's like Iris's cat, and then we brought another cat around it, one of our others, and it got so freaked out and just bit Leslie like through like her hand.
Did you get antibiotics?
Yeah. But it was like I didn't know the cat had that much murder in him. Like, and I got scared. That's one cat I don't go near. But then we have this other cat that's like Maud's cat, and he got upset by one of the other cats and got an obstructed urethra. And so when they get mad, sometimes it blocks
crystals.
And they could really die from it. Yeah. And 2 weeks later, happens again, $9,000. Then they're like, if it happens a third time, you have to get a urethra extension. Like you got to expand the urethra. It's like a serious operation, like a $25,000 operation. And then
he paid it.
Yeah. And I paid it because they call you from the vet and they guilt you into it because they're just like, some people euthanize their cat at this point, but we looked you up on networth.com. And it'd be really weird if you did that. Have you had that with how much it costs?
Yeah, I mean, well, Buster, when he was like a year old, he ate something, a plant of some kind, but it wasn't the kind that he ate a bouquet from Trader Joe's, but it didn't have lilies in it or the other one, but he went into kidney failure. And I was always one of these people, it's like, who the fuck would spend $10,000 on a cat? But there I was. And he's still around, he's got one kidney. But the thing I want to say about one
Did you give him your kidney?
Huh?
A piece of your kidney?
Yeah. I asked if I could do that. No, but he's all right. But I wanted to make clear that Buster's a sweet guy. He doesn't like to sit on me, but because of all the rotating now, like I cradle him to bring him up, and we've gotten very close. Here's the joke I'm doing about that because it really happened. Because Charlie's been just beating the fuck out of him, and the vet says, well, I think what we should do is, and Charlie scares me because when they fight, it's scary. But the vet says what we should do, we should put Buster on buspirone, and it'll give him courage. And I said, wait, I'm on buspirone. And my doctor didn't say anything about courage. I'm just on it for anxiety, you know. So the best thing that can happen is in a few months, me and Buster won't be afraid of Charlie.
Yeah. I want to know about this medication.
Buspirone?
Yeah, what's it called?
It's Buspar was what it was called. It's buspirone. It's like, it's not an SSRI, because I don't like those, you know. I had Charlie on Prozac for a while, but it did the same thing to him as it did for me, where it's sort of like it changes your personality, but the old one's still in there, you know. And like I could see Charlie all kind of like fucked up, but inside I could see him like, when I get out of here, dude, yeah. So. Buspirone, it's a more specific dopamine thing that the doc said to me, because I didn't want to get on SSRIs and the anxiety became intolerable at 61, and he said, look, this medicine, you know, rarely works, and I'm like, that sounds perfect for me. So, but I think it does do something at the core. Like it doesn't change my personality at all, but I think the basic existential anxiety is a little less. Like I don't ruminate, I don't spin as much.
Yeah. You know, I think that's a big comedy thing. It's just like running stuff.
Oh my God.
All day. Like I realized lately.
But
just
that's
like
never
how
funny with me. I'm just sitting around going like, is Charlie going to hang himself from the blinds? You know, I can't. You know, it's never like, this is a funny joke, I'm going to keep running it through my head. It's always like terror. It's it's like my house going to, you know, fall apart, whatever.
This has been brought to you by
Buspirone.
Hi. I saw you had a bit, or like a chunk about Largo, and I'm a huge fan of your Judd and Friends shows, and I've been to your Marc Friends shows too. I'm just curious if there are any connections you made at Largo that you like credit Flanny or, you know, being there that like...
Oh, people I met there or worked with there?
Yeah, that like...
I mean, I kind of like everybody in a way, because when I stopped doing stand-up, and that was like in 1992, and I didn't start again until 2014, I didn't pay any attention to it. I think I went to see Chris Rock once, and I didn't go to see any stand-up. I got so burnt out on it. So when I started up again, mainly at the Cellar and at Largo, that's how I met everybody from being there. Yeah. And so that's how I got back into it.
First, I just want to say thank you for the work that you do, because I think most people in the room would probably agree it's been an extraordinarily difficult year. And I think we go to your work to deal with our depression, to feel better, to get distracted. But I was wondering for you two, because you're the writers, the creators, the actors, is writing and creating ever, if you get as depressed as, say, I feel, or as upset, is creating and writing not the solution sometimes for you? Is it sometimes, does it not kind of provide the solace that your work provides to us, is kind of the question.
Well, my work, like, you know, on the podcast especially, and certainly the comedy, is voicing that stuff. So it's not, you know, I think what my stuff does at its best is makes people feel less alone in it, and brings it out as comedy. Like, yeah, we're all depressed, but there's very few things we have control over. So, you know, at some point, you've got to like not be crushed by it. And I think that my expressing exactly those feelings, which I do a lot, and making them funny, you know, it does something other than distract. It kind of makes people feel like, oh, okay, well, I'm not alone, and I'll try to look at it like that guy for a day, you know, and then maybe he'll talk to me again on Thursday. So, but the act of voicing it, it does make me feel better, because, you know, when you're getting the laugh, we're getting it too. And so there's that moment of sort of like, hey, I did it.
Well, I remember you were one of the first people to talk about how depressing it was.
Yeah. What we're living through?
Yeah. You had bits about how we feel about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't think anyone else was talking about that or talking about it that eloquently. I remember you had that joke, maybe you could remember, which was about what do you do when you realize one of your friends is MAGA
Yeah.
or likes Trump?
Oh, yeah.
And you said, and then as soon as they reveal that, you have a decision to make.
Well, lately, like, I think a lot of the stuff I said in the last special and panicked, about, progressives and liberals, that I had to find a line to where, there is a point, the line that President Obama quoted on the last episode of my podcast, which was a line where after I talk about being progressive and the sort of the idiosyncrasies of that, it's very important to make progressives laugh at themselves, but also insanely difficult because we're very serious. But the tag of that whole riff was that we annoyed the average American into fascism.
Yeah.
And
which is a perfect joke.
Yeah.
That's so true. And also so weird that people would choose the fascism.
Yeah. But the weirdest thing about that joke is, like, I had that whole set for, like, months and months, but I leave a little room, and that line came to me, like, a week before I shot the special. And it was like, oh, my God, well, that's it. I don't know if that makes you feel any better.
Yeah. I remember I met Obama at a benefit once, and there was, like, a receiving line to meet him. And I went over and said hello, and he goes, oh, my God, me and Michelle, we just watched Funny People. We loved it. We love depressing movies. But
the only thing I remember about Funny People, I remember the movie, but the one thing that, like, stuck with me is, like, where the fuck did you find Monty Hoffman?
That's right. We were digging him up.
This is this old comic, that dubious character from San Francisco. And he's in one of those table scenes, like this Reiser and Wallace and Schiff, like a lot of outsiders. Carol Leifer, and then Monty Hoffman. I'm like, what the fuck is Monty Hoffman doing?
It's just someone who was nice to me when I was a young comic and everyone else was mean. But for me, when I think about, like, what we do and how it affects people's mood now, and, like, what should I do? What should I talk about? My wife, Leslie, always tells me, you're better off just making things that make people happy than talking about politics. Like, it would be better to make movies and TV about the ways that we could all be kinder to each other and things that inspire people to do better. And you'd probably have a bigger effect on people by making things like that than for me to just say, fuck Donald Trump.
Well, that has to be the solution on some level, is some celebration of the human spirit.
Yeah.
And all of the spectrum of what that implies and the stories around that. I mean, that has to be, our hope is that will transcend. That, that it's very easy, like you hit that wall where you're like, there's this idea that, like, well, most people are good people inside. And then, a few years ago, you're like, that's not true. And it might not be. So what do you do with that? Well, you got to, kind of live your life the best you can.
Yeah. Well, I always saw all this coming.
Huh?
I always saw all this coming.
Did you?
In my neurotic mind. Because I would always, like, look at, like, Africa, and there would just be, some sort of slaughter in Darfur or Somalia.
Oh, yeah, that people, your neighbors. Right? Yeah.
Where they would just, like, kill, like, 1 million people. And I'd be like, well, we're all the same. We're the same people. Why wouldn't that happen here? Why? And you see how...
Let's go. We had a nice night.
Judd started on Darfur again.
Of all the folks that you've worked with and not worked with, peers and peers adjacent, who do you think is fabulous or inspiring or interesting that you never got to work with, and why not?
Other than Marc?
Aww.
There are people that I wanted to work with or work with more that I didn't feel connected to culturally in a way that allowed me to come up with the concept. Like, there's no one I like more than Steve Martin. But I think maybe it's a Jewish thing. I never had the great idea for him as much as I wanted to, and that's true of, I never made a Bill Murray movie, or, there's a lot of people that I just didn't have an inspiration because, I'm a schlubby Jew. And I just understand a certain kind of schmuck. And I'm not that creative. I mean, in a way, I like things that are kind of close to what I'm experiencing. So that's why it's similar all the time. And I'm also not that smart, because I have brain damage. And so even when I have a doctor in a movie, they sound so stupid because I can't even figure out how to make a doctor talk. My imagination is limited, but I do remember getting my wife pregnant, And so there's so many people that I haven't gotten to work with. But, there's still time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.